Margera. The name might not ring a bell for everyone, but in certain corners of the internet, it was synonymous with, well, let's just say unconventional content. He was a 43-year-old Floridian, living just outside of Lake Wales, who'd built a niche online persona around exotic animals. Specifically, around one exotic animal, an 8-foot American alligator named Rex. Now, before you picture some seasoned wildlife expert running a sanctuary, let me paint a different picture. Wade wasn't a biologist or a zoologist. He was a guy, a former semi-professional stunt performer who'd transitioned to online content creation. And let's be honest, his initial videos weren't exactly setting the world on fire. He was trying to be an influencer, jumping from trend to trend, from fitness challenges to prank videos, and nothing seemed to stick. Until Rex. Wade acquired Rex back in 2016 from a breeder down in Georgia. This wasn't your everyday, reputable operation. This was the kind of place operating in the murky shadows of legality, where the motto seemed to be, got scales, got teeth, we sell it. Now, how Wade managed to get the permits, or didn't get the permits, is a story for another time. The point is, he brought Rex home as a hatchling, barely bigger than a house cat, and that's when things started to change. Wade began documenting Rex's growth on YouTube. At first it was innocent enough, videos of him feeding Rex, building a bigger enclosure, the usual look at my cool pet stuff. But Wade quickly realized that the more daring, the more unhinged he acted around Rex, the more views he got. So, he started upping the ante, hand-feeding Rex raw meat, wrestling with him very gently at first, and even swimming in the same pool as the growing Gator. He'd narrate these videos with a strange mix of bravado and affection. "See, he knows I'm the alpha," he'd say, or, "We're practically brothers," and people ate it up. The views skyrocketed. Comments poured in, a chaotic mix of awe, admiration, and outright horror. "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen." One person would write, "You're insane. That thing is a killing machine." Another would reply. Wade, of course, focused on the positive. He saw the comments as validation, proof that he was on the right track. He was building an audience, a brand, a legacy. He was Wade and Rex, a duo unlike any other on the internet. But behind the viral videos and the growing subscriber count, a sense of unease was brewing. Wade's neighbors started complaining about the strange noises coming from his property, the hissing, the splashing, the thuds against the fence late at night. They worried about their children, their pets, their own safety. Animal control received calls, but without clear evidence of neglect or abuse. Their hands were tied. Legally, Wade wasn't doing anything explicitly illegal, yet even some of Wade's friends started to voice their concerns. They saw a change in him, a growing obsession with proving his bond with Rex. What started as a bit of fun had become something darker. He seemed to be trying to prove something, not just to his audience, but to himself. That he could connect with an apex predator, that he could control the wild, that love could conquer all, even millions of years of evolutionary programming. It wasn't content anymore. One former collaborator later said, "It was personal. It was like he needed Rex to love him, to validate him." And that's a dangerous game to play with an alligator. And Rex himself? Well, Rex was growing fast. What had once been a cute, manageable juvenile was now a powerful, unpredictable predator. He was bigger, stronger, more territorial. There were days when he wouldn't respond to Wade's commands, days when he would snap and hiss during feeding time. But Wade brushed it off. "He's just being a grump," he'd say, or, "We all have our off days." He seemed blind to the warning signs, convinced that his bond with Rex was unbreakable, that he was somehow different, special. He truly believed he understood Rex, that he could read his moods, anticipate his reactions. This wasn't understanding. This was delusion. The truth was, Wade was projecting his own emotions and desires onto a creature whose motivations were far more primal. He saw affection where there was only instinct, trust where there was only tolerance, and control where there was only a fleeting moment of dominance. He was playing a dangerous game, and the stakes were getting higher with every video, with every risky stunt, with every act of what he perceived as love. He was dancing on the edge of a razor, and the only question was when, not if, he would finally slip. He was convinced the line between man and beast could be blurred beyond recognition. But there was no going back on millions of years of programming. He was, tragically, so very wrong. The initial viral spark that ignited Wade's fame came from those early videos, the ones where he cautiously approached Rex, offering bits of chicken and whispering reassurances. It was a spectacle of perceived bravery, or maybe delusion, depending on your perspective. But those were just the appetizers. The main course, the stuff that really got the internet buzzing, involved increasingly risky behavior. Remember, we're talking about an apex predator. Here, an animal whose DNA is practically unchanged for millions of years. An animal designed to kill. But Wade seemed determined to rewrite the rules of nature. And he documented every step of the way. One of the first instances that raised serious red flags was the pool noodle challenge. Wade, in all his misguided glory, decided it would be a great idea to float on a pool noodle in the shallow end of Rex's enclosure, dangling his arms and legs in the water. The video description read, "Proving Rex sees me as family. No aggression, just chill vibes." Except, the video tells a different story. Rex, initially still, began circling Wade, his eyes locked on him. You could see the tension in the gator's body, the subtle flexing of his powerful tail. Then, a sudden snap. Rex lunged, not to bite, but to bump the noodle, sending Wade tumbling into the water. Wade laughed it off, claiming Rex was just being playful. But the close-up replay showed Rex's jaws opening slightly, a clear display of predatory behavior. That video racked up millions of views, not because people were impressed, but because they were witnessing a train wreck in slow motion. The comments section became a battleground. Half the people were cheering Wade on, calling him a legend. The other half were screaming into the void, begging him to stop before it was too late. Then came the underwater hand-feeding stunt. This one was particularly disturbing. Wade, wearing goggles and holding a chunk of meat, would submerge himself in the water, holding the food just inches from Rex's snout. The idea, he claimed, was to demonstrate ultimate trust and telepathic communication. The reality was a terrifying display of Wade risking life and limb for internet clout. In one take, Rex missed the meat and snapped at Wade's hand, leaving a visible scratch. Wade edited out the close call, but eagle-eyed viewers spotted the injury in later videos. The online backlash intensified. Veterinarians and wildlife experts started chiming in, dissecting Wade's videos and explaining, in painstaking detail, the dangers of his actions. They pointed out the subtle cues in Rex's behavior, the rapid tail movements, the flared nostrils, the constricted pupils, all indicating stress and aggression. They emphasized that alligators are ambush predators, masters of patience, and that Wade was essentially playing Russian roulette with an animal that could kill him in an instant. Dr. Emily Carter, a renowned herpetologist, publicly condemned Wade's actions, stating, "This isn't bonding, it's manipulation and a gross misunderstanding of animal behavior. This man is not only endangering himself, but also normalizing incredibly irresponsible behavior that could have devastating consequences for both humans and alligators." The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, FWC, also stepped in, issuing multiple warnings to Wade. They cited concerns about the inadequate enclosure, the potential for Rex to escape, and the clear violation of regulations regarding the handling of dangerous wildlife. They even threatened to confiscate Rex if Wade didn't comply with their recommendations. But Wade, fueled by his growing online fame and a deep-seated need to prove his unique connection with Rex, ignored the warnings. He doubled down, posting even more provocative videos, often accompanied by defiant captions like, "They don't understand our bond and haters gonna hate. Rex and I are unbreakable." He even started selling merchandise featuring images of himself and Rex, further solidifying his image as a daring animal whisperer. T-shirts, posters, even Rex-shaped plush toys. Wade was monetizing his dangerous obsession, turning his backyard pool into a brand. The more criticism he received, the more stubborn he became. He saw himself as a misunderstood visionary, a pioneer in the field of interspecies communication. He genuinely believed that he could control Rex, that his love and affection were enough to override millions of years of instinct. One particularly disturbing incident involved a group of children who visited Wade's property. Wade, eager to show off his bond with Rex, allowed the kids to get close to the enclosure, even letting them feed the alligator scraps of meat through the fence. The FWC was furious, issuing a stern warning and threatening legal action. Even Wade's closest friends and family members expressed their concerns. His girlfriend, Alina Ruiz, pleaded with him to stop, telling him that he was pushing his luck too far. But Wade refused to listen, blinded by his own ego and the allure of internet fame. The final warning sign, the one that should have been impossible to ignore, came just weeks before the tragedy. During a live stream, Rex suddenly snapped at Wade's face, narrowly missing his eye. The incident was caught on camera, and the footage quickly went viral. Even Wade seemed shaken by the near miss, but he quickly brushed it off, claiming Rex was just having a bad day. But it wasn't just a bad day. It was a culmination of years of reckless behavior, a testament to the dangers of underestimating the power of nature. It was a clear indication that the thread of trust that Wade so desperately clung to was about to break. And when it did, the consequences would be irreversible. The world watched, horrified, as the aftermath unfolded. At 2:13 p.m., Alina Ruiz's frantic 911 call pierced the afternoon calm, a chilling soundtrack to a tragedy already in motion. "Please, hurry. He's not coming up. He went under, and I don't see him. Please." Her voice, a mix of terror and disbelief, painted a grim picture for the dispatcher on the other end of the line. A pet, a pool, blood staining the water, a sequence of events that defied logic. First responders raced to the scene, sirens screaming a desperate warning that arrived too late. Paramedics, deputies, a blur of flashing lights against the backdrop of palm trees and manicured lawns. But the serenity of Willow Creek Road was shattered. replaced by the grim reality that awaited them. The pool shimmered under the harsh Florida sun, a macabre mirror reflecting the horror that lay beneath. And there, in the center of it all, was Rex, immobile, almost serene, his reptilian eyes seemingly fixed on the approaching chaos. He was floating motionless, as if he was waiting for them, waiting for something or someone. One deputy later recounted the unsettling scene, stating, "It looked like he was expecting us, like he knew what was coming." The alligator's eerie stillness only amplified the sense of dread that permeated the air. Using a long metal pole, they guided Rex towards the shallow end. Expert handlers prepared a tranquilizer, their movements precise and deliberate. One deputy, bracing himself for the worst, slipped into the murky water, his hands sweeping across the pool floor. And then he found him. Wade Margera's body, lifeless and limp, lay curled at the bottom of the pool's deepest point. Blood, a crimson shroud, swirled around him, a haunting testament to the violence of his final moments. His arm was contorted at an unnatural angle, his shoulder a mangled mess. They gently retrieved his body, but there was no urgency in their actions. No frantic sepehi, no desperate attempts at resuscitation. It was too late. The paramedics confirmed what Alina already knew in her heart. Wade Margera, 43 years old, was pronounced dead at 2:28 p.m. The official cause of death, drowning, complicated by multiple bite injuries, including severe trauma to the upper torso and shoulder. The official report would later detail the gruesome, reality-deep puncture wounds consistent with the bite of an adult American alligator. But unofficially, those who witnessed the scene spoke of it with a single, chilling word: brutal. Wildlife officers from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission arrived shortly after. Rex, now subdued by the tranquilizer, was carefully restrained and removed from the property, his reign of terror brought to an abrupt end. As he was led away, one officer whispered to another, his voice heavy with grim resignation, "This wasn't an animal gone wild. This was something that should have never been here in the first place." The backyard, once a stage for viral videos and daring stunts, was now cordoned off with yellow tape, a stark symbol of the tragedy that had unfolded. And in the ensuing silence, broken only by the rustling of palm leaves in the breeze, the truth hung heavy in the air. Nature had never agreed to the rules Wade had tried to impose. The reckoning had come, swift and merciless. News of Wade's death spread like wildfire, igniting a media frenzy that consumed Willow Creek Road. Pet Gator kills Florida man in backyard horror. YouTube stuntman mauled by his own alligator. Fatal encounter in Lake Wales shocks animal community. The headlines screamed from every screen, painting a picture of unimaginable horror. Within hours, the story had gone viral, dissected by influencers, true crime channels, and wildlife experts alike. Reporters descended upon Willow Creek Road, their cameras capturing the shocked faces of neighbors, the somber presence of law enforcement, the eerie stillness of the Margera property. Neighbors, initially hesitant, slowly emerged to share their stories. An elderly woman from across the street, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and sadness, told a reporter from ABC, "We always knew he had something big over there, but I never imagined it would end like this." A teenager who lived 2 houses down showed a clip on his phone, a video Wade had posted months earlier. The caption read, "Me and Rex, trust is everything." The irony was stark, almost cruel. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission released a formal statement, its tone calm and measured, but its message chillingly clear. This is a tragic reminder that wild animals are unpredictable. Regardless of familiarity or captivity, apex predators retain instincts that cannot be fully suppressed. Behind the bureaucratic language was a warning aimed at the countless individuals who had transformed their homes into private zoos, blurring the lines between pet and predator. Dr. Helena Morris, a renowned wildlife biologist, addressed the tragedy in a radio interview, her voice resonating with years of experience in the field. Alligators do not bond. They do not form emotional attachments. What we see as affection is often misinterpreted behavior, and when someone treats a wild animal like a pet, the consequences are usually paid in blood. Animal rights groups seized upon the tragedy, calling for immediate legislative reform. Justice for Wade became a rallying cry, not to condemn the alligator, but to demand accountability from the exotic pet trade that had facilitated its sale. The online presence of the Georgia breeder who had sold Rex to Wade vanished overnight. Their website taken down, their phone disconnected. The silence was deafening, but the story continued to grow, fueled by a deeper, more fundamental unease. This wasn't just about one man and one alligator. It was about a culture obsessed with control, with taming the untamable. It was about individuals who believed they could outsmart nature by offering raw meat and a smile to a camera. And for the first time in years, people were asking difficult questions. How many other Rexes are out there, waiting, growing, watching? How many more Wades will there be before we finally learn our lesson? In the days following the tragedy, the Margera family retreated into silence, their grief a private burden. Reporters camped outside their property, desperate for a statement, a quote, anything. All they received was a handwritten note taped to the front door, for simple words that spoke volumes. Please let us grieve. But grief, like nature, cannot be contained. 3 days later, Wade's younger brother, Caleb Margera, emerged to address the media, his voice thick with emotion. He loved animals, he said, tears welling in his eyes. He really did. But somewhere along the line, the likes, the numbers, they started to matter more than the danger. He wasn't careless. He just believed too much. A lawsuit soon followed, filed quietly in Polk County Circuit Court. The Margera family's attorney cited negligence, reckless endangerment, and failure to disclose behavioral risks. The target, the breeder who had sold Rex to Wade back in 2016, court documents revealed a disturbing pattern of complaints from other buyers, detailing instances of aggression and escape. But none of those incidents had ever led to legal action. Until now, the death of Wade Margera ignited a fire under lawmakers in Tallahassee. A committee was convened to review the loopholes in Florida's exotic pet permitting system. Proposals were debated, some calling for stricter licensing, others advocating for outright bans on privately owned large reptiles. The debate was heated, contentious, but for the first time, people were truly listening. Then, quietly, almost imperceptibly, Rex disappeared. On June 24, 2024, 3 weeks after the attack, Rex was euthanized at an FWC wildlife facility. The official statement was brief, devoid of emotion. Due to the animal's size, history, and risk to public safety, humane euthanasia was performed under veterinary supervision. No public spectacle, no final images, just a name erased from a file. But Rex's story, Wade's story, had already taken on a life of its own. Animal welfare organizations transformed the tragedy into a powerful public awareness campaign. using slow-motion footage of Wade smiling beside the alligator that would ultimately claim his life. One clip ended with Wade's voice, taken from a 2022 video, whispering, "He's not a monster. He's just misunderstood." The chilling words were followed by stark white letters. "Wild animals are not pets. Don't wait until it's too late." The legacy Wade left behind was not the one he had envisioned. There were no sponsorships, no Animal Planet deals, just silence, regret, and a cautionary tale etched into the reptile-scarred soil of Central Florida. And as the dust settled, one haunting question remained. What if Rex hadn't snapped that day? What if Wade had done just one more swim, posted just one more video, lived just one more week? Would he have stopped? Or was this always how it was destined to end?